Let me ask you something. Are you getting everything out of your rent-to-own business? If you're not an A-Pro member, then the answer is probably no. Look, advocacy is A-Pro's bread and butter. This is why they were created and what they do best. But here's the thing. A-Pro membership is about way more than advocacy. A-Pro connects you to the movers and the shakers of the industry, people who've been there, done that, and they can help you do it even better. A-Pro's monthly webinars give you expert insights and actionable takeaways. It's like having a masterclass for your business every single month. Got questions about complex regulations or sticky situations? No problem. A-Pro's legal hotline gives you direct access to experts who have got the answers. That's a peace of mind that you can't put a price on. And let's not forget the resources, news, updates, and tools that keep you ahead of the curve. Scholarships for your team? Check. Disaster relief when you need it most? Double check. A-Pro is your ultimate support system in the rent-to-own world. So stop settling for less. With A-Pro, members get more. More support, more connections, and more success. Head over to rtohq.org and join the A-Pro family today. Because in this business, more isn't just better. It's essential. See you at the top with A-Pro.
And welcome to the RTO Show with Danny and Pete. I'm your host, Danny.
And I'm your host, Pete. And today we're talking about Driving 101, what makes the best driver? And I think for sure that we both know the driver is probably the most important piece of that puzzle. There's the manager, there's a GM that plays that king spot. And then, you probably have the assistant at the queen spot. You have a couple of sales and you have a couple of account managers that are probably like rooks and knights. But the pawn, the almighty pawn, is actually a pretty powerful piece. And sometimes I believe that we are overlooking the obvious. We don't hire the way we should when it comes to driving positions, and it affects our stores tremendously. I mean, what do you think?
I think the driver position is an MVP for sure in some stores. When we think about it, the delivery techs are the last faces our customers see. That is their last interaction. So when we talk about customer service, when we talk about salesmanship, building rapport, we're always talking about what's happening in the store over the phone. But that driver that's delivering that product, that's servicing that product, they're the last interaction with that customer. And I feel sometimes we don't emphasize enough how important that position really is.
It brings value to the table. You want to see a successful store, you want to see a successful team, I guarantee you they've got great drivers. No great team is going to have a great team all the way up, and then when you hit the bottom, and when I say bottom, I just mean somebody at the entry level that's not good, you're not going to see a successful team. There's no way. I recommend you going out to any store, any location, and taking a look at their team. And when you see a successful staff, you see some drivers that can not only be customer friendly, they know how to handle a couple of situations. They know how to go over. We want to get away from the driver who knows the agreement, right? But they need to know the agreement. So the drivers who know the agreement, that know how to word it, that know the verbiage, know where to sign, know how to take care of the customer when they're there, knows how to handle the situations because sometimes they're the ones knocking on doors. Man, a driver is the absolute most chameleon position sometimes, and I think that we overlook it way too much. And I question that why? Why are we doing that? And what are some of the values that you look for when you're putting a driver in a position?
Well, one of the important factors that we need to ask is, can you handle and drive a 26-foot box truck?
Well, most trucks out there on the rent-to-own companies are about 16. They can go up to that length. And I know that when we review candidates, probably one of the biggest things that I look at is not just knowledge. I mean, and of course, it's physicality. But I'm also looking for that personality. And that personality's got to shine. That personality's got to be different than the other personalities on my team. Those people have to be outgoing. They have to be lighthearted. They have to be hard workers. And, truthfully, especially in a Florida setting, and I know some of you guys are cross-state or up north, we have heat about 10 months out of the year. Crazy amount of heat for somebody to deal with. But, going up north, I mean, you have the cool fall, the cold winter. You have the wet spring. There's a lot of different things that happen in different states. And, man, you have to have somebody that's been able to overcome that. But the driver position is by far one of the most important to keep the wheels of the store turning. You take a look at what you have available and you start training that person. And don't train them to just be an account manager. Don't train them to just be a salesperson. Train them to be the best driver they can be and your store will automatically succeed.
You know, one of the things we talked about, Pete, is giving the drivers a responsibility like an inventory checklist. I remember I used to do this at Temple Terrace when I ran the store. David Brown, hands down the best delivery tech I've ever had. And he handles so much more for me than just servicing and delivering. He was on top. Every Monday, he was giving me a checklist. Like, I have X amount of hoses, X amount of dryer cords, X amount of drain hoses, tools, etc. And he would give me a list. And then he would actually do a lot of his own ordering. He knew how to order. He knew where to go. Petra, Staples, RES. He would just get the approval to the computer, put everything in a cart. And then before he would click that checkout button, he would go, "Hey, Danny, can you approve this?" And I'll be like, yes, no, do we really need that? You know, it's stuff like that that makes me think of, when I think of a delivery tech, that's what I think of. Somebody that's just on it. Like, it's not just about coming in, looking at the delivery book. What furniture am I taking? What am I picking up? It's almost taking ownership of that position of the vehicle, doing the vehicle maintenance, not necessarily maybe personally doing the vehicle maintenance, but at least notifying the manager like, hey, this is what's going on with the vehicle. We need to get this done ASAP.
How about having that driver that has that service mindset, right? That knows how to kind of go in there and diagnose things a little bit. You know, maybe the stove that has that burner that's just not coming on, and maybe the eyelet is just not in all the way, or whatever the case may be, or a simple change out of a knob, or a dryer's not drying, and instead of just, hey man, it's not drying, I need to take this out and do a swap out. And they take, the 5 minutes to kind of pull up, the dryer vent hose is a little clogged up, or it's kinked and it's not got enough airflow, or whatever the case may be, that the dryer plug is not plugged in all the way. I mean, you know about that, right? So it's one of those things that, when you have a service inclined driver, that they can go out there and kind of diagnose things easily. Sometimes I think we forget that is a teachable asset. When you bring somebody in and you're training them, one of the things you might want to do is sit down and say, hey, these are the basic things that you might run into, and this is how you problem solve them. Get rid of 50% of your services right off the bat. Instead of taking out the time and taking something out of somebody's house, giving them a loaner, doing an exchange, that's a couple drives, that's a loan. Why don't we just save it in the first 5-10 minutes, make the customer happy, and empower that driver to really handle that situation? And the better that they get at it, of course, then they'll do it again and again and again. And you want to have a tenured driver. I mean, like you said, DB's the best driver that we've had. Why wouldn't we want more of them? Because, they do help us out. There's no doubt about it. Also mechanically capable. And when I say that, I don't mean that in a service mindset. A lot of what the drivers do is physical, right? So when you get a truck in and it's got tables and it's got, coffee and end tables, or it's got regular tables, or it's got bunk beds, who's generally going to be putting it together? Hopefully not the guy who doesn't know the difference between a flathead and a Phillips, right? So you want to make sure that these guys have the right tools to make it happen, but also because, you can show them how to do it. It comes with instructions. But just me being mechanically inclined means most of the time, and I know that you've probably done it, I know I do it nowadays, when we put something together, we probably don't even look at the instructions anymore, although we should, right? Because you can put the legs in the wrong spot and it screws in the wrong, you have like 3 screws left over and you're like, what the heck? But most of the time you can kind of look at it from the best part and go, okay, I can kind of tell that this is a bolt screw and it goes, to hold up a certain thing, or this is a regular wood screw that would kind of put the seats down or whatever. And when you have that guy who has that mechanically capable mindset, they're not putting together the bunk bed for like 3-4 hours, right? They're in there in like 30-40 minutes with a helper, and boom, it's done, on the floor, set up and ready to go. How much would you really pay for that? Because I know having a great driver is really important. Having them take care of that, unbelievably important.
Well, I've always been a person that values time over money. So when I think of that situation, yeah, I'm willing to pay because it's going to save me time. You just said it. They're already mechanically inclined. They know how to service an issue like a washing machine. We talk about this a lot. A lot of the times a washing machine, the motherboard just needs to be reset. And there's just an easy 5-step process to reset it, to run the test, instead of calling an appliance center out there to do it for you and then having the loaner and all that stuff. And if you just teach and train your guys how to do that, it might take them an extra 15 minutes of that visit, but it'll save you 2 hours from the back and forth.
It is always a big difference when you have somebody who really knows what's going on. And another thing that I've always seen makes some of the best drivers is when you have somebody who knows the area. And some people are like, I know the area because I know that I have Google. I have maps, Google Maps. No, that's not knowing the area. knowing the area is knowing what time of the day you should probably be in a certain area, or what time of the day it takes you longer to get to a certain area, what areas go one way and what areas go another. So it might be close, but it's still hard to get there. A time frame where, hey, I can get to this street and then this particular stop if I do it in this particular order. And if I can speak for almost all the rent-to-own industry, we give a window of when we're going to be there. And that window is to help, allow us to be there on a time frame that we will make it. We don't want to say we'll be there exactly at 3:30 and we come late. You always want to underpromise and overperform. So you give them a window to make sure that I learned that from Teddy. Teddy always used to say that. But we always want to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do, right? And if you have a guy who knows the area, who knows how to, and let's say he doesn't, you can put in MapQuest and make different stops, but put it in a way where you're not going backwards and forwards and past the stops that you're going to go to later and kind of just going all over the place. That really helps with your time management. And instead of getting maybe 2 or 3 deliveries done, you can probably get 4 or 5 deliveries done if you put them in the right order or in the right shape. Now, sometimes you can't get away from that because of scheduling, or somebody needs that refrigerator right now, or it's a stove and it's an important issue. But when you have somebody who can look at a book and go, hey, if we can put this here, or if I can do this particular one first, it'll save so much more time for the other 2 deliveries. And man, that time management is priceless. You're all about time management. I know that's your deal.
No, you hit the nail right on the head. I talk about when I do deal with drivers, that's one of the things I actually do. I take them to the delivery book. Now, they do know the area. That is a plus. Even if they don't, Google Maps is a big plus and is really easy to manage. So what I do is I train my drivers to go to the delivery book, go to every customer, go to their address, see how far it is from the store, where are the other deliveries at. And, it's okay. Sometimes you can call a customer and ask, like, hey, can I push you back 2 hours? Or another thing, a little controversial, whatever. A lot of people don't like this idea, but I know I've been doing this a lot of my stores, is I've been doing a 12 to 6 delivery schedule. So you do sales, you're scheduling pickups, whatever, for the next day. We're telling a lot of customers it's just 12 to 6. That way in the morning, we can schedule accordingly. So that way, I know it used to be the whole rent to own is like a 2-hour window, and that was a benefit. But when you do that, I believe you are over-promising and under-delivering. You're going to get a lot of complaints. Oh, you were late. You didn't make this window. Even if you give them a call, hey, I'm running 30 minutes behind. Nobody wants to hear that. If you give them that under-promise of 12 to 6, and then I'm calling you at 3, hey, I'm on my way. Oh, great. I'm not sitting here all day. But then we got you in a timely fashion and according to conduciveness to our business of our travel time, because you might be 30 minutes north and I have 2 deliveries that's 15 minutes south. Why would I do one 15 minutes south, go 30 minutes north to come back south? And let me just knock out the 2 15-minute south ones and then come do the 30-minute north one, if that makes any sense.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everyone, it's Pete Shau here from the RTO Show podcast, and I want to tell you about a company that's making a real difference in the rent-to-own space, Wow Brands. I've seen firsthand how they approach marketing, and let me tell you, it's not just about ads. Wow Brands builds complete digital ecosystems designed specifically for the rent-to-own industry. Their e-commerce and lead generation strategies are built to bring in qualified leads. And did I mention that they are actively working with the rent-to-own industry while also being members of APRO and TRIB? Listen, these folks are passionate problem solvers. They don't just slap something together. They design, build, and scale the kind of digital retail tools your business needs and your customers actually want. So if you're serious about growing, reach out to Wow Brands at wowbrands.com. I trust them, and I think you will too. Well, I think when I'm going to say this because I've noticed this recently. We have rent-to-own stores popping up everywhere. And it used to be that a store would only work within, like let's say 5 miles. And then, that was always a typical thing. You work within 5 miles of the store and then outlying after that. And it depends on if you're in a rural location or if you're in a city location and stuff like that. But now I think as stores are growing and they're becoming more popular in this day and age, you service a larger area. And sometimes when you're servicing that larger area, it's really hard to come up with that pinpoint time of where you're going to be there, because the farther the distance, the more that can happen in between here and there, including gas stops, flat tires, accidents that happen on the road that we have nothing to do with, or something happens on the road where there's spills. And so you've got to create the windows that are going to be sufficient for you. And you have to have a driver who can navigate those windows, who can kind of tell you, hey, this is what's going on in this area, or hey, I heard this on the radio. We might want to avoid this area. It's going to add another 15 minutes on to the to and a 15 minutes on the from, and that's going to change things. And somebody who's being vigilant and looking forward to those situations and that appointment book that you have, your daily activity planner, and say, yeah, this is going to be a little bit more difficult. We might not want to stack this because I've got to take this out of the box. This is on the 3rd floor. Then I have to put it together. Then I got to put the handles on it, right? So, if you put this in a 2-hour window, that might be every bit of my 2 hours, as opposed to you put 3 things in this window and I can get them done. Yeah, this one's going to take a while. So that forward-looking driver who can really kind of diagnose what it is that he's servicing, take a look at what it is he's delivering, take a look at what needs to be done on the delivery, man, those are invaluable. Also having somebody who's, collections is a different type of, not everybody likes to do it, not everybody does it well, but we do have those situations where collections are important. How great is it that you have a driver who's not afraid to go knock on a door?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a benefit. And just the other week, I had a driver out in Winter Haven, Alex. He really helped the store, and we saved a potential skip. So we had a customer that was scheduled for a pickup on a Monday. No big deal, right? But on Saturday, they were doing a delivery on the same street. And he noticed, and he remembers the address. And if you talk to a lot of the drivers, it's so funny. When I talk to the drivers, they all say, most of them say the same thing. They don't remember customer names, but they remember addresses. Give them an address, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's where I went." But you give them a name, I don't know who that is, but it's hilarious. But anyways, so he was on the street delivering merchandise to a new customer, and he looked 3 doors down, recognized the house, knows that it was the customer that is scheduled for Monday, and saw a U-Haul truck that they were packing up to leave. So he immediately calls the store, talks to the store manager, all said, "Hey, Miss Jones, whatever. I see a U-Haul truck. Do you want me to go and interject?"
Wow.
And he's like, "Absolutely." He went right across the street and retrieved our property right then and there. I'm not saying they were going to skip, but, if you've been in this business, when you see a U-Haul truck, red flag. Red flag.
Man, how amazing was that he was able to catch that? That's actually awesome. And that's another notch in the belt of a fantastic driver. And those things are invaluable. I mean, so when you have somebody who's also, you wouldn't say always collection minded, but collection savvy in a situation just like that, I mean, how great is that to stop a potential situation? And the worst thing that can happen is, hey man, we'll bring it back to the store and hold it for you. And then when you get to where you're going, we can confirm that you have a lease. We can verify that that's where you're going and what's going to be. Sure, we'll redeliver it. But if not, then we're going to conclude our business here, and then we'll just keep going forward.
Another good thing is a good driver, after doing a delivery, let's say it's a little bit of a tricky address, because sometimes the maps don't always give you the best direction. You know that better than anybody, Pete, right? But so when they'll come back, I've seen great drivers do this. They'll tell the store manager, "Hey, FYI, it's a tricky road. You got to make a left at the hidden tree, and it's behind the 3rd house. That's where they really live at." So the address is accurate, but it's kind of because again, they're doing the delivery, so when it's time to go do a field visit, how many times do you hear a account manager say, "I can't find the house"? Well, the house has to exist. We delivered it. But that's where that communication and the notation is so important.
Just in case anybody needs to understand what he's talking about, me and Apple have a love-hate relationship, and I have to use it. And when I use Apple Maps, I get lost on a very normal basis. I really wish I could say I didn't. So it says go one way, and I go completely another direction. It's probably mostly my fault and user error, but me and my Apple phone, we don't work out that way. But it is true, when you get that driver who understands what's going on, and they know that something's tricky, and they can come back and kind of give you that information or put it in the system as a tip. Hey, this is, 912 and a half. What does half mean? Well, if you go behind the first building on the left, there's a shack in the back, or, behind that or next to that or whatever, or it's the apartment on the left, even though it says, apartment 1, it's actually apartment B or whatever the case is. And it gives you a better understanding. Those things, as you go along, you'll find, man, it makes your day easier. Things run smoother, a lot faster. You become dependent on how stable a driver can make your store. And that's why the basics of driving is find somebody who can really do the job, but do it well. Be willing to put knowledge and time into that person, not just this is how you pick up, this is how you move, this is how you drop off. Make sure you take the tag off when you're delivering it. I want you to, take off with it, my little tag holder. Make sure I get the, the tags, or when you're moving out of the showroom, make sure that you keep the tags with the product. Yeah, that's the basic stuff. Right? And we're talking about the basic stuff, but there's a lot more basics that go along with it. And if you're talking about having a great driver, you got to have somebody who's willing to step up to the plate. Another thing that we want to look for is somebody, first off, you have the right to have the right dress code, right? Because they're out there, they're getting hot, they're doing a lot of stuff. Make sure that they can wear whatever correlates to your company, but wear something that's movable, breathable, and easy for them to get their job done, because they're really stressed. They're really putting a lot of stress on their body to get things done. Make it a little easier for them. Make sure that you have water all the time at the store. Don't let that ever run out. Make sure that they stay professionally dressed. They stay, in a mindset that they understand that regardless of what the customer's going through, that they are number one. And another thing that we like to do here at Rent King is we have a driver spiff. They go out there and they sell tires, because of course tires is probably the biggest thing that we've added to the system. And now they're the ones out there taking a look at what in the customer's home, right? And they have the ability to say, hey, you know what, I noticed that they're mostly empty, or they need a bed, or they need a new TV, or they need, the house is a little bit dark, but they could probably use some lighting. And they come back and they give the sales references to the sales manager. Hey, this customer could possibly use this or possibly use that. Well, we give spiffs for that, right? So they might not have to be able to do the sale because they got to come out back and do something. But if you let the salesperson know, hey, this person could use a new bed or a new TV or a new, washer and dryer, or a dryer to match the washing machine, or they need a set of tires, make sure you take care of them. We got the $5 spiffs, and all it takes is one sale. If they get a sale, they get the spiff. If they get, more items on that sale, maybe they get a little bit bigger spiff. But those are the guys that are out there in the community looking at exactly what's going on in the customer's home. And this is the best time to train them and let them know, hey, this is how we grow our customer base. Not just the fact that we're growing customers, but the items in their home. I mean, we have up to a certain limit in most rent-to-own companies. Why not fulfill that limit as long as they can afford it?
Another thing that I used to value that DB, I'm going to mention him again. He used to do a lot, and I know
David Brown. You are stuck on David today, baby.
But other drivers, my Brandon drivers, they're awesome. They do this very well. So you talked about the defensive side of, like I just mentioned, Alex at Winter Haven, how he saved as a potential skip and saw a scheduled pickup moving a couple of days earlier, and that's great. You want someone that's not afraid to knock on doors, that's willing to go have those interactions with the customers of the collection field visits, but at the same time, that same individual, you want them to think offensively too. How can we grow the store? And I love it when a driver comes back and says, hey, I just either A, had a great marketing idea, what if we did this? Or two, hey, I just found a perfect neighborhood. We should really flyer this neighborhood because, man, our customers are definitely living there. And they're on the road the most. And as much as we love to say our managers get out on the road and visit their own areas and know their areas, but every area is constantly growing. And the drivers have the best potentiality to come back with that information. Hey, a new subdivision is building up. Hey, a new apartment complex is coming up. Hey, I just delivered Pete and I think we can get like 10 more customers out of his neighborhood, whatever the case may be. And yeah, I think the spiff is important to motivate them and entice them to want to get involved with the sales aspect, especially when you go into a customer's home and you try to upsell them. And that helps out a lot, to be honest. Again, it goes back to that they're the last interaction that the customer is going to experience. So make it a pleasant one and make it a purposeful one.
When you talk about having a great driver, you have to have a great culture and a great workplace. And when we mention that, it's funny because APRO just recently put out that Magic Rent to Own was named amongst one of Pennsylvania's best workplaces in 2022 by the Central Penn Business Journal. And you can see that on cpbj.com, or you can go to the APRO's website at www.rtohq.org and see what a great job that Dan Fisher and his guys are doing to create a great work culture for his people over there at Magic Rentals. And they got it in the class for medium employee category from 100 to 250 employees. And Magic has about 120 employees. And they love working there. And part of that culture just extends to everybody. And of course, most stores have at least 2 to 3 drivers. So they're going to make up a bigger part of a store workforce. Create a great culture for them to work at. Create a great training regimen to get them to be on your staff and your team to be the right way. And let me tell you, you're going to take off. And, hats off to Magic Reynolds and Dan and his team for just being able to put out a great workplace for these guys and just showing us and the rest of the RTO industry how to get it done. I mean, that's pretty awesome right there. So what we want to do is remind you. We recommend that you kind of take these steps. You can do it however, but we recommend make sure that when you hire somebody with a personality, okay? You take somebody who's willing to take control and take ownership of their vehicle and their tools and what they do, right? Try to get somebody with the service mindset, how to repair or show them how to repair. Give them easy tips and tricks on how to make things work and get things going again. Save yourself, save the store some time and money. Somebody who's mechanically capable, who knows how to put things together and has the right mindset and the right idea to get things done in a quick pace. I know that if I build this way, it'll work a little faster if I use this type of tool, or somebody who's willing to tell you, hey, if I got this power drill versus this screwdriver, I can probably put this together in 15 minutes instead of an hour, right? Someone who knows the area, someone who's willing to not challenge, but more be open. Like if I did this delivery first, it would probably make it better because this delivery in this area in this time frame is in rush hour time and rush hour traffic. If I can get probably 2 or 3 of these done and then switch it, can we call? Can we make an audible? Somebody who has a customer service mindset that they understand that somebody might want it there and then move the couch to there and then move the TV over there. And when they do it and they do it with a smile, like you said, they're the last person in the customer's home. That's the person that we want handling serious customer service business because they'll be the reasons that they come back. They'll be the reason why somebody makes an on-time payment. They'll be the reason also that somebody doesn't, right? If they forget their remotes, or if they forget the wiring, or if they don't connect it correctly, or if they didn't put it the right way. And every time that you get a credit call, one of the first things is they forgot this. They didn't do that. And so those are very important. Make sure that they're professional, but make sure they're professional within reason. They're delivery guys, so they need to be able to dress that way. You don't want your guys out there in shirt and slacks. You want them to be able to be a little bit comfortable and still represent the company. Make sure that they're, in some cases, you might have account managers that can knock on doors, but some you might not. Make sure that they have that collections mindset where they can knock on a door and be personable with people and straightforward people, because those are the ones that they probably saw last, right? So when they're knocking on their door, it's probably a different conversation than somebody who you haven't met, which you should have, but somebody you haven't met, like an account manager calling you and say, hey, we need to discuss your account. Well, I don't really know you. But Bob, who has been in the home, or David Brown, who has been in the home and talked to somebody, yeah, let's have a regular conversation. And, somebody who understands the area, somebody who understands the people, somebody who understands the traffic, those are probably the best traits that you're looking for as far as a driving position. Don't be afraid to train your drivers, and not just to move up, right? Not just to make collection calls or sales or become something better than what they are because you think that's better. Driving is an essential part of your business, and training drivers to be great drivers is how you have a successful store.
I have an unpopular opinion as well that a lot of managers have disagreed with me, but I personally, when I ran a store, I actually did this, and I advise my managers to do this as well. Include your delivery techs in the decision-making if you're going to add on a delivery. It doesn't mean they have the final say-so, but it does give them a fulfillment of empowerment and involvement and teamwork. So customer comes in, you already have a scheduled delivery for the day. Customer comes in today, brand new customer, wants a living room set, whatever the case may be. Can you squeeze them in today? You're the manager. You can sure dictate and say, we're going to deliver it to you today. But you have to remember, that delivery tech is going to be the last experience. Do you want a disgruntled employee delivering this couch to them? You can beat your chest and say, well, they're going to do it regardless. Okay. However, what I've learned is if you go to that delivery tech and say, hey, any chance do you think we can squeeze Pete in today between 4 and 6? It's just a couch. It's 15 minutes up the road. And if you start involving them with those decision making, you'll see if you have the right delivery tech, they'll be more positive about it. Yeah, we can get them taken care of. Yeah, absolutely. Or you can get that honest feedback. Listen, Danny, the 2 deliveries before, it's a house full of stuff and I got to build everything. I just don't want to overcommit. And if I can, I can. But if I can't, I don't want them to be disappointed and you be disappointed. All right, you know what? That's great. Let's make a decision together. And then also, obviously we're in the fourth quarter season. So what I used to always do is have a meeting with my drivers at the beginning of the quarter and let them know, hey, just so you know, it's selling season. I'm just forewarning you now, there's going to be a lot of add-on deliveries. There's going to be a lot of extra scheduled deliveries. I just need you to be, we're going to get through these next 2 months. I appreciate you guys, love you guys, et cetera, et cetera. And that way they kind of are known, because a lot of times these guys, they do get in their head like, okay, you know, I'm working from 10 to 7, and in their mind, they come in, they see the delivery book. Oh, it's going to be an easy day, only 4 deliveries. I should be out on time. They're texting the missus, they're texting their kids, whatever, and then you add on 3 deliveries. But let them know beforehand, like, hey, just be aware, like, for the next 2 months, it's going to be busy. You're going to have to be extremely flexible. Like, there's going to be some add-ons.
I also want to encourage everybody to have a lead driver position. Sometimes what we don't do is we give drivers the ability to think for themselves and do for themselves, but we don't create a lead driver position. That's almost like having a store with no one technically leading it, but everybody working, right? You always need to have somebody to give a little bit of a better direction. And I encourage certain stores to create, if you don't have a lead driver position, to create one. The guy who's been there a little bit longer, the guy who knows a little bit more, a guy who knows how you handle business and how things function on a day-to-day basis with your business. Create a lead driver position. Not only can he help train in the ways of how you do things, but it also gives 2 guys a better direction. Sometimes you give 2 guys a task, and they're both trying to go about it the best way they know how, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have that lead driver position, you can empower somebody to make quick decisions that you don't have to oversee, and then get things done a lot faster. Yeah, no, listen, Jimmy, I understand that you want to do that, but if we do it this way, trust me, it's faster, it's easier, we get the service out of the way, we can handle this drop-off, and then we can do this return with an empty truck. Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. When you get that lead driver position, empower somebody to make those decisions, and I'm telling you, it will really generate a lot of success and a lot of ease for the manager. You're talking about a great environment for everybody, and I couldn't imagine a better way to do it. You know, I also wanted to remind everybody that when you're doing marketing and you're going out there and you're trying to take care of your customers, you always want to do it with the right mindset and with the right company, right? And what we use is Unlimited Marketing Solutions. And Unlimited Marketing Solutions is a social media marketing company that can market directly to your specific customer base and provide solid and trackable results. Unlimited Marketing Solutions are also extremely flexible to meet your unique needs and budget, and are currently running a promotion for a 10% discount off of your first 6 months of marketing when you mention the code RTO Show. That's RTOSHOW. When you call them at 352-553-3245. You can also email them at unlimitedmarketingsolutionsllc@gmail.com. I also want to talk a little bit about Larry Sutton. April kind of covered Larry Sutton. I met Larry Sutton. Awesome guy. And if there's anybody who has a lot of people out there in fleet, that would be Larry. And let me tell you, he just had the five things you need to be a highly effective manager in turbulent times: convey purpose, provide a roadmap, be transparent, people over profits, and have a great open door policy. Man, that is somebody, I'm telling you, the last time I sat down with Larry, it was an amazing conversation. And I hope to see him out and about in the world again, man. Just in case you're listening, Larry, we love you to death. But that's what I got to cover on Driver 101. I think the basics are right here in front of you, laid out to have a great, successful store. And it starts with a good GM and a great set of drivers.
If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We're on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit that plus button so you don't miss an episode. We do post every Monday. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Delivery Tech and how to be the best delivery tech. With that being said, this is the RTO Show with Danny and Pete.